What's going on, guys? I'm Jay the Black. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. I wanted to talk about Jennifer Lopez and her making these comments about Wesley Snipes, a guy who has said relatively nothing about her. As a matter of fact, you would think a woman as busy as her showcasing her celebrity relationship every chance she gets. As a matter of fact, if you look up anything for attention, it would be Jennifer Lopez. She's making these comments about how she felt violated during a scene with Wesley Snipes back in the mid-90s when they were filming Money Train. Now, she's making it seem as if Wesley Snipes was the one who was making decisions on the film, because actually that particular scene wasn't in there, but it was put in there. And she's saying that it was because of Wesley Snipes, and he's the one who did that. And, you know, he's the one who wanted that. He wanted to get intimate with her. He wanted to feel all on her, right? Kiss all on her, even though everything goes through the director and the studio. Whatever the director and the studio want is what's going to be in the film. And she talked about how there was nothing in between them to keep them from bumping each other except for a sock. But that's where you have to speak up and say something, because she didn't say anything. As a matter of fact, if you were to look up images of them or videos of them promoting the movie, it was as if nothing happened. It was as if they were all cool with each other. As a matter of fact, that wasn't his film. And if it is, y'all can correct me, but I don't know if he was executive producer. I believe he was just as much of an actor in that film as she was. He didn't write the script. And she was saying that because this guy had a lot of power and a lot of influence in the mid-90s, that she could do nothing about it. Wesley Snipes is getting singled out. So I just want y'all to know that. And I want y'all to know that I'm not saying that Wesley Snipes didn't have some part to play in why she's reacting like this, but I don't think this guy went out of his way to be overly aggressive towards her to the point to where she's continuing to speak about him, especially recently, to try to ruin this guy's name when this guy has done nothing to her, said nothing about her. And you don't hear women that he's had scenes with before saying the same thing about Wesley Snipes. This is only a Jennifer Lopez thing. Jennifer Lopez is the only one who has an issue with Wesley Snipes as far as love interest is concerned. That's why I'm not going to just take her side on this, but I am going to speak to the events, and we're going to get into this article. But I'm also going to speak about the fact that Jennifer Lopez had a co-star, Jim Caviezel, in 2001. This was just 6 years after her issues with Wesley Snipes, quote unquote. Jim Caviezel, who was married at the time, he might still be married to the same woman. He told J-Lo to keep as much clothes on as possible because she was willing to take off her clothes for him. But she wants to talk about how uncomfortable she was at Wesley Snipes, and we're going to get into that. But first, this is from Pop Culture. Jennifer Lopez felt violated during love scenes with Wesley Snipes. Jennifer Lopez is known equally for her acting career as for her music, but she starred as a leading lady alongside plenty of Hollywood bachelors. But she once opened up about working with Blade star Wesley Snipes and how the experience was uncomfortable. Apparently, Snipes wanted to take their on-screen romance off-screen. The two worked together in the 1995 film Money Train. In the film, Lopez stars as Grace Santiago, a transit officer. Her character begins developing feelings for Snipes' character, Officer John Robinson. Both fall for one another, and it culminates in a love scene between the two. We know that there are on-screen romances all the time. As a matter of fact, I have heard about the Batman film, the new Batman film. Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz was getting it in. Now, that was just a rumor, you know what I'm saying? But we know this stuff happens. But it's clear to me that she had no interest in Wesley Snipes. Maybe he had some interest in her, but she's making it seem like it's a situation of Wesley using the movie in order to get with her. I don't believe that, because he doesn't have a history of that. There's no history of Wesley Snipes pressuring women to sleep with him. None. And this guy did time. This guy was basically almost blackballed from Hollywood, especially right before the time he went to jail. And you heard nothing from women that he worked with about him pressuring them to be in an interview. Lopez addressed how horrible the experience was for her. For starters, she said that the scene was never in the script and added halfway through the film. Now, is she saying that that was a Wesley Snipes thing? I don't believe that. Directors are not going to change the script because of the actor in the film. Wesley Snipes was a big deal, but he wasn't that big of a deal. Wesley Snipes didn't become a big deal in Hollywood until Blade. The first Blade film is when he became a big deal in Hollywood, and that was in '98. Wesley Snipes was still getting to that point. He had been in films where he had gained a lot of traction and notoriety, but he wasn't that big of a deal to where he can tell the director to change the script. Lopez didn't believe the scene had anything to do with the movie. Instead, she says she feels the producers added it just because they wanted a love scene. Though she never named the actor in a specific interview, it is widely suspected that she's discussing Money Train, as she notes it was her first love scene in a film project. She says her leading man pressured her into it. He was a big star at the time with a lot of clout, even though they didn't use that word then. And I was just starting out. She said it was my big break, and he really pressured me. He told me if the scene wasn't hot enough, my part would end up on the cutting room floor, and that it would be bad for my career. Like I'd get a reputation as difficult to work with. When you hear stuff like that, I can't say that that stuff doesn't happen in Hollywood, but to me, does that really have anything to do with Wesley Snipes? Because Wesley Snipes is not the say, he does not have the final say on the film. Even if he said this, and I'm not saying that he did, this is all alleged. It's all alleged. Because we all know if anybody is screwing actresses, it is the directors and the producers. It's rare that you have fellow actors who are in the film who are pressuring women in the film to do things, or what they do is going to be on the cutting room floor. Wesley Snipes does not have that say so. But I will say this though, if Wesley Snipes did say that, that's a very dumb thing to do, and you put yourself in a very bad situation. But again, this is all alleged. It's all alleged. That's why she didn't name names. If anything, he was talking her into it. I'm not saying it's right, but we only have her side of this. We don't have Wesley Snipes' side of this. That's why we have to be careful for we try to Me Too somebody. Wesley Snipes has never publicly spoken about this because Wesley Snipes has moved on. This dude did 3 years in prison for tax evasion. It's not like this guy has gone through his career, and it's not like he has not dealt with problems. There's a lot of actors or producers and directors who've gotten away with doing a lot worse, but nobody wants to hold them accountable. Y'all want to come at the black male actors, all right? Somebody that she thinks is struggling now, even though he isn't. He's rebuilding his acting career, and here we have this coming out, which really just shows you that we are always the target of criticism and the Me Tooing. Like, it's easy to come after us. She says she felt uncomfortable, so we did it, and it was horrible. We were both completely nude, with nothing between us except a sock on his boner. I was so naive then. Now I would have pillows and covers and whatever to prevent contact. Well, once again, here's the I was naive. I didn't know any better. What is this, man? Like, what is this whole, I want to forget the things that I did in my past. J-Lo, you cannot just flip a switch and say, you know what, I was uncomfortable. I didn't mean to do that. It happened. You chose to do it. You have the opportunity to say yes or no. And I don't think it would have affected her career like that, because any of these situations where I have read where women have chose not to do this or chose not to do that, and they said, fine, don't have to do it, doesn't mean it's going to ruin your career. Like Dave Chappelle talked about how they wanted him to wear a dress in a film years ago, and he declined to do it. He declined to do it multiple times. But did it affect his acting career? No. If you're talented and you have that look and you have that talent, people are going to put you in their projects. This was a situation of her regretting a choice that she made. And I'm not saying that J-Lo is a bad person. I just think that she's somebody that wants to write. She's like Mia Khalifa, man. She wants to rewrite history, and she wants to change things to make herself look good, because I don't think J-Lo really likes melanated men like that. I really don't. She uses them to get what she wants, right? Or get to a certain part. But you look at her now, she dates men to stay relevant, because her acting career definitely isn't relevant right now. No one watches a J-Lo movie. This is why she goes back and forth to music, or she gets with a Alex Rodriguez, or she gets with a Ben Affleck, because that's the only way she can stay relevant, is by the men that she's with, because nobody is checking for J-Lo, the actress. Nobody has been checking for J-Lo as an actress in like 10 years, probably longer. Her acting career peaked in the early 2000s. That's when it peaked. And these comments about Wesley Snipes, to me, it's a woman that regrets that choice, because she wasn't really interested in a Wesley Snipes like that. And she realized that I don't believe she pushed back at all doing that. I think she did whatever she had to do to get in that film. She was at movie premieres with them, comfortable, chummy. She did press interviews. You can look it up. You didn't talk about you being uncomfortable then. The movie was already put out there. So you could have spoken your truth then, but you waited. You waited until what? Until Wesley Snipes was not as popping and Hollyweird as he was before. So here's this famous actor basically humping my leg and pawing away at my chest and kissing them. It was awful. I felt violated. I swore I'd never work with him again. He's not done too well lately anyway, so maybe that's karma. She later said that Snipes wanted to take the relationship further. She had a boyfriend at the time, which she says Snipes was aware of. There's always two sides to every story. I'm not going to sit here and take her side just because. But let's look at this real quick. Jennifer, this is according to Showbiz Cheat Sheet. Jennifer Lopez is no stranger showing off her body on screen throughout her career. Lopez has indulged in love scenes with a variety of A-listers, with some movies requiring the actors to undress to add authenticity to the take. But there was a time when one of Lopez's own co-stars insisted that the actor keep as many clothes on as possible for their love scene, and it was all out of respect for his wife. So she had no problem getting undressed for Jim Caviezel for love scenes. Jennifer Lopez played a huge part in casting Jim Caviezel for the 2001 thriller Angel Eyes. Ultimately, it was the actor's performance in the movie Thin Red Line that got him the part, where Lopez noticed that he showcased a quiet intensity. But Caviezel originally turned down the role not once, but twice. The film director would ask Caviezel to do the role for a second time. After a while, Louise Mendoki approached me about it again, and I turned it down again. But then Dennis Quaid called me and said, "You may want to rethink. Louise is a really smart director," and I did, Caviezel said in an interview with IGN. As for why he originally turned down the role, Caviezel simply didn't think he had what it took to do the role justice. I asked this friend of mine who had lost his wife if he could give me any insight on it, and he told me through his own tears how he lived with a lot of guilt and how much he regrets moments in his life. Caviezel said, I thought to myself, that's where I gotta get to. I didn't know if I could do it. Her, being uncomfortable, getting dressed, being undressed and being in these love scenes with these men. But she had no problem doing it in front of Jim Caviezel. Let's see. I was really nervous, he said in the same interview with IGN. Jennifer picked up on that. She looked at me and goes, this is your first love scene, isn't it? I said, why am I that bad? Why am I that bad? She said, no, but it seems I get every guy's first love scene. However, when Caviezel did the love scene, he had specific requirements that Lopez had to follow, and it involved keeping as much of their clothes on as possible. Look, put a top on her, Caviezel said to the director, according to Empire. I gotta keep my shorts on. She's gonna keep hers on. Get the camera and shoot around it. Caviezel didn't feel comfortable with either of them undressing because of his marriage. So J-Lo, are you going to speak about that? Are you going to speak about the fact that Jim Caviezel said, that'll be no. I'm a married man. Keep your clothes on. Jennifer Lopez had no problem getting undressed for this guy. Absolutely none. But she's talking about how uncomfortable she was. Now, this was in 2001, people. This was in 2001. Okay? 2001 when they did this film. And this was like, what, almost 6 years after the uncomfortable scene with Wesley Snipes, but she had no problem taking everything off of Jim Caviezel. I just want to put everything out there so everybody knows the realness and everything, and understand that people do whatever it takes to try to bring others down. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like the video, share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.